So next, it is our pleasure to have Professor Samuel Au, Associate Professor of the Department of Mechanical and Automation Engineering, CUHK, to talk to us about next frontier of medical intervention, union of surgeon and robot. Professor Au, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Sam. I'm from the Mechanical and Automation Engineering Department at CUHK. So this is my great honor to have a chance to share my experience on medical robotics to all of you, in particular how we can use technology to improve the healthcare and impact people's life. So before I start the talk, I would like to give you some of my background so that you have an idea about what I'm trying to talk about. Pretty much I'm more like a mechanical guy. I received training on mechanical engineering and control engineering throughout my undergraduate and like a PhD study at MIT. And I like robotics. I build hardware that can move around and also solve some tasks of people. And later on, I'm interested to see how we can use the technology to really impact someone's life. Because of that, after the PhD study, I went to Intuitive Surgical to develop robot for 8 years. Intuitive Surgical is the company who developed the famous Da Vinci robot for minimally invasive surgery. And throughout the journey, I have co-developed the Da Vinci single-site platform, which is the FDA approval platform, and also co-start the Da Vinci flexible catheter project, which is maybe launching very soon. And today, I'm going to share more on those kind of experience about how we can really use the technology to merge robot and surgery, which may be a little bit different from some of the AI talk you are talking about. It's more on hardware and how we can build a platform. At the same time, I will touch on some ongoing research we have been doing in our lab and with our collaborators to give you some of the hints about how we can advance surgery in the future to the next horizon. So before we start, I would like to say thank you to some of my collaborators. We work closely together to really want to advance surgery to the next horizon. And some of the work we present today is some of their work, and we work together all the time. And including like Professor Liu and his team, and Professor Kok and his team, and Philip Chu, Dr. Philip Chu, and Dr. Jason Chen. At the same time, I want to say thanks to some of my sponsors and organizations like the Department of Mechanical Engineering, CUHK, T-Stone Robotic Institute, and the Team Center at CUHK, as well as some of my sponsors like Senate Life Science Limited and Intuitive Surgical. So I would like to start my talk with the evolution of automobile. I think nowadays when people talk about AI, we will immediately relate that to self-driving car developed by Google, as this is considered one of the key milestones in AI and advanced algorithm development. However, when we look at the advancement of automobile, it really takes us like over 100 years to develop a car like Chrysler minivan before we can trust and build up the autonomous technology on top of that. In other words, having a high-performance hardware platform is some sort of requirement for building an autonomous system. Then when we look at the advancement on medical intervention, are we there yet to develop some sort of advanced like autonomous medical system? So over the past 20 years, surgery has advanced significantly. It has evolved from large incision open surgery to multiple small incision laparoscopic surgery. In particular, in the past 10 years, some physicians has already started to do surgery through single incision. However, in general, surgery is still very brutal, very complex, but also require a lot of precision and delicate. Surgeons still use some basic tools like scissors and knife to accomplish their surgical tasks. Sometimes I make a joke with a surgeon or to a student, like, I think surgeon is still in the Iron Age, but we are staying in the digital age because we use computer and also iPhone, but surgeons still use the knife and scissors to help the patient. On the contrary to the car manufacturing experience, which we experience a lot, it lacks automation. Surgery really heavily rely on surgeon skill set to accomplish the task. That's why the learning curve is steep. In here, I'm going to use a video to demonstrate how people can operate complex surgery. In this video, you can see operating this particular surgery is called like a single incision cholecystectomy. You can see to operate this surgery, you have to have two people working together. And then you can imagine like how difficult could operate in an operating room. And those are really difficult. And For example, for some surgery like prostatectomy, to be a proficiency in prostatectomy for a surgeon, it takes easily they need to finish 100 cases to get to be professional, and it may take 5 years to accomplish that. The question is, the next question we want to ask is, can we use technology to make surgery much easier to operate and make it more repeatable and have high quality control like what we experience in manufacturing? The answer is yes. This is actually the motivation of the medical robotics. Taking the advantage of the computer-wise control approach, surgical robot allow physicians to operate procedure with more precision and less invasively. Particularly, it allow people to use like a very complex instrument with more intuitive control. Today, I will mostly focus on a Da Vinci surgical robot because this is at the beginning, I will start to use Da Vinci surgical robot as an example because this is the most successful product in the field and create a lot of impact to the field. So to demonstrate how we can use technology to advance surgery. And as what I mentioned, in a robot, what it is different is the surgeon is separate from the surgeon field, and the robot is actually sitting in between. When the surgeon tries to control the master of the robot, they can use their own eyes and use their own hand to create the motion, and the robot in between them just follow and execute. And in between the robot and the surgeon is a computer system. They will translate all the commands given by the surgeon and then make it become precise and complicated movement to operate the surgery. Here is a video to show you how the performance they can perform with the robot. One of the main important contributions for the robotic system is with the robot we can control really complicated which is small and can perform dedicated movement, which cannot be accomplished easily by human hand. And the robot sitting in between so that the surgeon can sit comfortably at the one side, looking at the 3D camera view, and then operate everything using their own hand, and then manipulating all the things using their own eyes. And then on the other side of the robot is they just follow exactly the same command they provide you, and then in between them was a computer to translate all the complicated motion become robot movement. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, was the robot was the platform that I developed at the company, in which it allowed the Da Vinci robot to operate the surgery through one single incision. Traditional robotic surgery go through multiple incisions, but with that platform, we can really use the same robot to operate patient through single incision and minimize the trauma on the patient. And here is the video to show you the precision and dexterity of the robot. In this particular video, we try to put the skin of the grape together and then suture back together to show you how precise you can do using this platform. And at the end of the video, you will see the whole video was taken inside a bottle to show you we can really actually go through a small incision and then provide enough dexterity and precision to operate a complex procedure. Speaking with my personal experience, to create such kind of complex machine, it really requires a lot of complex and creative mechanical design, material selection, and development on advanced motion control and algorithm development. But the most important part, as what Professor Tong has mentioned, to really build a machine to do something related to health or safety issue, then the safety is the key thing. In particular, when we want to build a robot, we have to design a robot that will be safe and reliable to operate surgery up to the standard of US FDA. And I always talk to my students about the challenge of building a surgical robot to really operate on real human. It's like building an industrial robotic arm is just like building a Honda Civic. But when you build a surgical robot, it's like building a Ferrari or building a F1 Formula race car. So it's pretty much really challenging. But at the same time, I think it's good to see complex machine, but at the same time, we also want to see if the machine actually create impact to people's life. I think that's the most important question we want to ask, because we don't want to create another robot that's just shown in the trade show. But when you look at this data, this is the data coming from the Intuitive Surgical just recently. on average, every year, the procedure growth of the system has been starting from has been increasing. Like every year is like 10 to 20%. And then just last year, they have already performed 0.8 million surgical procedures in 2007, which is amazing. And in terms of the revenue, just last year, if I remember it correctly, the overall annual revenue was about like $3 billion just for 1 year. So that's good news, and then it actually gives us a very good motivation to move forward on this direction. But the next question is, where should we go, and where should we head forward? And when you look back to the evolution of the automobile industry, as what I mentioned, before we start to build an autonomous car, I think right now people may think about building an autonomous car and apply the same technology on medical or other area. But do we have a really stable platform which is mature enough to build up the technology on top of that? And that's a good question. And some people may think we can improve the imaging technology so that we can enhance people to see better things. This is one direction. Some people may think like putting more intelligence into the control so that they can do some more fancy intelligent control. But personally, I think the right direction should be dictated by the patient value. Whether we can create a robot to improve the outcome of the clinical value of the surgery. That's the main direction to drive the surgical development. And when I look at that, and then when I look at the current robot, let's say in like in Intuitive Surgical, one of the big problems in the current technology is the robot is rigid and they are bulky. And it really prevents surgeons to operate some procedure going deep inside the body. And many patients right now, because they cannot using the minimal invasive surgery because of that reason, and then they have to receive a lot of like open surgery or some surgery which require a lot of invasiveness. So the idea is, can we build some system that can navigate inside the body and also do a lot of surgical procedure inside the body without opening any incision? So I think this is a very good video to demonstrate the ideal case that we are thinking about in the future in medicine. So imagine there is a robot. If you pick any hole in the body, in this particular video, they pick a hole at the head, but you can imagine you can pick any hole in the body. And then if the robot is small enough and flexible enough, you can navigate through the body. And then at the end, because normally when you go inside the body, the lesion is very small. And you may not need to do a lot of complicated procedure. You may just need some sort of simple ablation to handle it. So there is a chance we may be able to do something in here, apply a lot of autonomous system technology in this particular aspect, and create autonomous robot to do surgery autonomously in this particular case. So let me draw some comparison between self-driving car and the thing we are talking about, intelligent, flexible robotic system. That's what I'm imagining in the future that may happen. So they are very similar. At some point, we are trying to build an autonomous car navigate inside the anatomy. But what are the differences? Or what are the challenges that we are facing in developing this kind of flexible robotic platform? The first thing is a car is rigid, and all the sensors are rigid. It makes everything easier. But what we are thinking about is to build something completely different. It has to be flexible, even though the sensor is flexible, and the size of robot has to be small. Otherwise, you cannot go through the body without creating too much incision. And the second thing is when we drive a car, or when we look at autonomous car, the map is fixed, but anatomy is dynamics. When you go inside, you actually perform or deform the map. So that means the map needs to be dynamically adapted. And the last thing is when we talk about autonomous car, when they see obstacle, they just stop in front of the obstacle. But when we talk about surgery, we actually want to push against the anatomy. We want to interact with the anatomy physically. It may be rigid or it may be soft, but the problem is a little bit different, even though the concept may be the same. So in order to approach that problem, I think within our institute, in particular in the Robotic Institute, we try to approach that problem from multiple perspectives, really to develop new type of sensor, which is different from what we experienced so far, like really something which is flexible. The second thing is the design will be completely different. It has to be soft and flexible, but at the same time, you need to be powerful enough to operate some procedure. And we also need to have some control, which is intelligent. It allows us to navigate through the map, but without really destroying the tissue. And the last thing is try to collect all the intelligence from different surgeons and figure out an optimal solution to solve all the problems together. Of course, that is really a really big picture, really big problem to attack at this time. And we have done some preliminary work on each component, on some of the components. Hopefully, I will spend the last few minutes to adjust or give you some hints about what we are heading to and then how we can think about what is the solution to solve this problem in the future. So in terms of sensing and registration, as what I mentioned, in order to build a robotic autonomous car, the first thing you need to do is to build a GPS and a map. It applies to medical robotics, really to build a GPS inside the body. But the GPS is different. It has to be flexible. So when I was in the company at Intuitive Surgical, we were working on some optical fiber. So we can measure the whole shape of the optical fiber by shining some sort of a laser inside the fiber and then looking at the phase shift to estimate the shape of the fiber. And you can imagine if the fiber attached to the robot, you can check all the way down of the whole robot inside the body. And then using this, we can consider it as a GPS. But it's not just the tip position, we can measure the whole shape. Just in case you deform the anatomy, we can still use the shape to recover the anatomy. And the second thing, I'm working with a collaborator from Hong Kong, like a Professor Koch. We are also working on different kind of GPS, like a coil that can be compatible with MRI system. In the coil, when you have MRI, we can use the existing MRI technology to detect the coil and localize the tip of the instrument. And then combined with that, we can start to think about how can we use those technology for navigation. This is one of the results my collaborator was doing when he was at Harvard University. And at that time, they put the coil inside the catheter and then using real-time MRI to check the location of the catheter. And then sometimes they use the location of the catheter to adjust the map in real time. So that is a really good result to guide us about, to tell us that it's possible we can do something to create some GPS and map inside the human body. In terms of the robot design, so I have been spending a lot of years working on those areas, particularly really to spend some time to use a really advanced micro machining technology to build some joint or some sort of mechanical design, which is really small in this scale, which we are talking about 3.5 millimeters diameter. But at the same time, we also need to be very stiff and powerful so that we can operate surgery easily. And in the meantime, because we have mentioned that really to have something which is flexible, and then we are exploring different kind of topology of morphology to really figure out how to build a flexible system. They can be flexible to navigate inside the body. At the same time, they have enough strength to do some meaningful physical work inside the body, like ablation or cutting or suturing. So this one is fully soft robot design, and the other one is a hybrid compliant flexible joint design. And in terms of control, so because the robot is flexible, the control is quite different from existing robot control. Most of the existing industrial robots are rigid. They have a joint, distinct joint, and linkage. But the thing we are touching on is highly flexible. But at the same time, we need to make it really stiff at some point. So, and we use a lot of complicated software and algorithm putting together and then try to compensate all type of friction or different type of problem in mechanical system. And then we come up with very advanced theory. We can allow us to provide really high performance of medical instrumentation. And we believe those kind of technology can be really address some of the fundamental problem to do a flexible robotic system. The one you can see, this is a purely flexible robot, but you can still moving at that speed, which is really difficult. And the last video here is talking about a flexible robot with a control. If you pay attention to the tip of the robot, it's always pointing to one direction. You can imagine if the robot holding a laser ablating on certain tissue, even though you're pushing against the robot can still maintain the same direction to ablate the tissue you want. And I just provide more and more disturbance to make sure the tip can remain the same direction. And then we can also change the target position we want to check, and then they will change the target position to different position. It can be very stiff if we kind of control it properly. And the diameter of that instrument is only 3 millimeter diameter, so which is small enough you can navigate around the body. Of course, we are not stopping here, and we know that when we want to build a robot to navigate inside the body, it's not just thinking about controlling your own robot, you also need to have a chance to deal with the external disturbance, like the tissue or some sort of, sometimes you need to be soft so that you don't destroy the tissue. Sometimes you need to be very stiff so that you can cut the tissue. So, and then we are moving forward to do some sort of intelligent control that can adaptively changing the performance of the system, even though there is external disturbance applying on the system. So in this particular video, you can see at the beginning, the robot is tracking very well, but when you have a disturbance, the robot starts to deviate from the position, but after a while, the robot will use the AI algorithm to learn and then convert back to the original target position. That's exactly what we are trying to use if we want to put it inside the human. And Professor Liu in our department also extends similar technology to apply on manipulating a soft tissue. In here, we don't have any model on the tissue, but we just want to use the camera based on the image of the camera to adjust the robot until the end, they will match the target position we are looking at. So all these things, when we were working on this algorithm, we don't have a fixed model. It's all based on learning, and then eventually they converge to the right solution we want. So again, of course, personally, I believe the field is very promising, and I believe we are just at the beginning of the revolution in surgery. And where is the future? I don't know, maybe this one. But anyway, that's it for my talk. Thank you.